Hey, everybody, and welcome to another episode of Eating at a Meeting. This is a special Tuesday episode because it is Food Allergy Awareness Week. It's my favorite week of the year. And because I get to talk about food allergies and dietary restrictions, which probably most people don't think that's fun to talk about. But I love to fill out the challenge. And I am excited to bring to you today Executive Chef Jay Varga of the JDK Group. Catering and Events, which is one of Central Pennsylvania's most recognized and award-winning catering companies. Jay oversees all culinary operations for weddings, corporate events, galas, and large-scale celebrations, and he brings a level of creativity and intention to every plate that he puts together. He is the former Culinary Council President of the International Caterers Association, and he and I are working together on the ICA's new conference called Ascend that's happening in July, right?
July 19th through the 21st. Yep.
Thank you very much, which is in Savannah, Georgia. I can give you the link to that if you'd like to join. And in 2022, he was named the ICA Chef of the Year, which is one of the most respected peer-recognized honors in the catering industry. Hello, my friend. How are you?
I'm great. How are you doing?
I am good. And I'm so excited. I mean, we met at Cater Source like 2 or 3 years ago. And
at least 3 years ago.
Yeah, and then Josh, your sous chef, was on the show way back then at Cater Source. So I'm excited to have you join me today.
Oh, I'm excited to be here for sure.
Yeah, so this is, and I'm like, okay, you're ready to talk to me about food allergies, and so a lot of chefs don't want to talk about it, but I'm so glad that you are. So one of the things that doing my research and asking you some questions beforehand, you said that most people never, and this is not really talking about allergens, but it really prefaces what you do, but hear the word chef and they think of a restaurant, like a Gordon Ramsay or somebody like that. But catering is a completely different world logistically. And Todd Annis and I have had conversations about this. Other chefs and I have had conversations about this. But when it comes to food allergies specifically, how does off-premise, high-volume catering environment change what that safe, inclusive, and dining experience? Because it's different than a hotel.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, when it comes to food allergies and everything, especially in catering, and a large level catering as well, it's something that's very important because we're usually dropped in the middle of a field somewhere. Like, we don't have the luxuries that, when people think of a chef have, like, we're in a tent, we're bringing our own water, we're bringing our own equipment, everything. So like we set up field kitchens. So, the sanitation process alone is just as important as, the allergy itself, but then the planning of it all, because so many different people are involved in touching things and everything. It's just, it's something that, really has to be thought out and really prepared, because if not, I mean, it can go the wrong way real quick. And that's, the last thing that we want.
Well, and I remember talking to my friend Ashley, who used to work for Affairs to Remember in Atlanta. And she's like, she always brought her like food allergy kit, and meaning she brought all these extra foods just in case there was that last minute request, because you are out in the middle of a field. Like, and it's not like you can run to Whole Foods and get something.
No, usually that's not a luxury that we have either. I mean, for us as caterers, one of the benefits I do have is I get to know just about, I would say 90% of everybody's allergy before walking into an event, because a lot of times they're requested. It's part of the process, especially with weddings and things. Corporate events are usually a little bit different. Corporate events that are celebrating their staff usually aren't asking everybody what their allergies are. It's just something that we keep in mind and make sure that, we label properly if there is a concern, especially, if we're using anything from the non-major allergies. But, with weddings and special events, it's usually part of the process. So I usually get a laundry list of allergies that I get to look at beforehand and be prepared. And then we also, we have a few things that we bring on hand just to have, just in case. You never know. The last thing you ever want to do is not be able to, provide for somebody that's a guest at an event.
Right. Yeah. And they do pop up, right? And then some people, and it's whether somebody didn't answer the question,
Yep.
or maybe they're newly diagnosed since they RSVP'd, et cetera. But I do find it shameful that the corporations who are honoring their employees are not asking them because they work for them. But
It's usually not a priority.
yeah, it's mind-boggling. Okay, so what and Josh and I, it's been 3 years, so we talked about this a while ago as well, but walk through what you all do at the JDK group. What's your process when a client discloses an allergy, and what happens from the moment you find that out through the event
Even
day?
So yeah, even from 3 years ago, we've evolved so much
Oh,
in
really? Okay.
how we've addressed allergies and protocols. Just because you live through experiences, and we're always trying to be better and again provide the best experience possible. So the basic process starts with our BEO meetings, and that's like our production meetings
Mhm.
as we get ready for the events, and that usually includes an operations manager, somebody from culinary, um, sales, all of it. Everybody's in the same room to review each and every event, and you know, with that also is the list of allergies. And we were just talking earlier about a wedding that I have coming up, and there's over 18 allergies listed. So the
Mhm.
first process is to get those allergies, see what are the real red flags, comb the menu completely. So we review the entire menu, just looking at the allergy list, nothing else, just comparing what we're serving to what people are allergic to and where we could potentially run into issues. And the biggest thing usually for us is like tree nuts and peanuts and things like that, because those are usually the most anaphylactic allergies that you can have. Those ones cause the biggest reactions. Those are an allergy compared to an intolerance, which is a whole other
Mhm.
conversation as well, that we look at. But that goes through a complete review. Once that review happens, if there are like any red flags, then uh, we'll reach back out to the client, whether I have a conversation with them personally or the
Mhm.
salesperson does. And just first of all, knowledge is power. So, we have reviewed this. Here's what we're seeing. Here's a concern. Is there a concern for you? And most of the time, especially like tree nuts and stuff, if I have almonds on a salad and if it's just for texture and it's not going to compromise flavor or anything like that, we have a substitution that we can make that will still give you that. And as long as they understand the why behind it, usually
Right.
they're not a problem to doing that. Now, on the other hand, there are people that are like, no, we want the almonds, keep them on there. And then, we have to prepare ourselves to know that we have tree nuts on this site. We have 3 people that have tree nut allergies, and we have to make sure that, we're now going through our protocol and process.
Right.
Um, so that's like the in-house part of it.
Mhm.
And once we get on site, so the lead chef is in whoever the lead chef on that event is. Same thing, reviews all the allergies. We review it with not only the back of the house team, but we also review it with the front of the house team, because they need to be aware of what guests we're looking for, um, what tables they're at, all of that. We map that out from the very beginning. So like if I know you have a tree nut allergy and you're at table 15, you know, I'm already aware of where you're at, so we can pay a little more attention.
Mhm.
Um, on the front of the house side, the servers, even though we already know allergies, it's protocol for them as they greet their tables to introduce themselves and everything. But they also ask them, does anybody have any dietary restrictions that we need to know about? That way I can now catch anything that has not been reported already. Because,
Right.
like you said, 90% of the time I have everybody, but there's
Right.
always the 10% that hasn't uh hasn't really spoke up yet. So and then also they can confirm that the person that we already are aware of is at that table,
Mhm.
and 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 we can be prepared for that. So, after that process, then it's just the execution side. So I mean, when it comes to like hors d'oeuvres, so we'll keep with like a wedding, we're in a cocktail hour,
Mhm.
you know, if one of the items is shrimp or a crab cake and there's a shellfish allergy, then there's only one person that's dedicated to that. That only one server will ever touch that tray, will ever touch that item. That's the one they're responsible for. So that way we reduce the amount of hands that's involved.
I love
Same
that.
thing on the culinary side. One person usually there's 1 or 2 people that are in charge of hors d'oeuvres, but if there's a restriction, again, like if we're serving crab cakes and I have a shellfish allergy, one culinary is responsible for that, and that only. Like they're not allowed to touch the other items. Like that's just where they are, because we just don't want any mistakes to happen. It's
Yeah.
just you know Um, and then we move on. So that's how we kind of tackle like the hors d'oeuvre.
Yeah.
When it comes to like salads and entrees, again, that's something that we played ahead of time. They're specifically marked, covered, kept away from everything else, and they're served first before anybody else. We actually send out all allergy meals before we send out regular dinner, just so we know that the right people get the right meals. And
And are not
no,
waiting 25 minutes to get their food.
yeah, exactly. You know, if
Yeah.
almonds are on the salad, then the couple salads that don't have any almonds, they get unwrapped right before they go out on the floor, dressed and taken directly to that person before any salads that even have an almond on them leaves the kitchen.
Wow. That's amazing. And I really a couple of things in that description I love. But one thing that I said what I liked is the fact that you said the sales is there, operations, culinary, that in that team meeting because actually an event planner said to me a couple weeks ago, she's like, "Well, isn't it just the person's responsibility that's eating it?" I'm like, "No, you've got all of the people in the wheelhouse, as I call the event food chain, that are touching that. And then you added to the fact that, like, hey, if there's a shellfish allergy, only one of your staff in the back of the house and the front of the house can touch that. That's a huge step right there that nobody probably would have thought of.
No, because I mean, all it takes is somebody to grab something and not switch their gloves,
Right.
again, and there's all different levels. Some people, you have to ingest it for it to affect you, but some
Right.
people like, yeah, just the touch of it.
hmm
If it touches something else, could cause some type of reaction. So, I mean,
Yeah.
just to a limit, I mean, there's a 99.9% success rate, but there's always just that 0.01 that like
Right.
you always have to be wary of. And
hmm
we're going to take whatever steps we can to make sure um, that, and especially in catering, like it's, you know, at an event, one person, one mishap could derail the entire event. It's not like one person just went out to eat and they got sick or anything like that. Like
Right.
you know, you're, you could potentially affect somebody's entire wedding day.
Right. Yeah, exactly. And I remember there was an event that I went to a couple years ago, and the woman had shared that she had a hazelnut allergy and like touch by touch or contact. And but the last day, and thankfully this was the last day, but they put out brownies and it had walnuts and hazelnuts in it. And when she asked the server, they're like, "Oh no, those are just walnuts." And the pastry chef just happened to be behind that server and said, "No, those are hazelnuts in there." And she's like, "You just saved my life." But it's a brownie and everybody eats brownies with their fingers. They're not eating
Yeah.
it with a fork or knife. So now she doesn't want to shake anyone's hand or touch any tabletop because now there's hazelnut oil on everything.
Yeah. And especially on the pastry side too, like
Yeah,
nuts, I mean, are pretty prominent in a lot of things. So,
right.
not even just that, like, some of the tart shells that we have
Mhm,
consist of almond flour.
mhm. Yeah,
That has the same effect.
right, and a
Yeah.
macaron, right? Yeah, those are made from
Macaron,
almond
yeah.
yeah, made my friend Allison will kill me if I don't say it the right way. Um, so and one of the things that I loved that you said, to me pre-show was that hospitality is making every guest feel like their presence personally matters to their entire staff, and you had a really bad experience at, a restaurant that, y
Yeah.
you know, showed that, but so with somebody with a food allergy, and I love the fact that, again, that you're bringing the plates out first, but somebody who has a food allergy, um, and has been handed a, real well, actually, somebody mentioned it yesterday because I said, "What is the one thing that you wanna get rid of on a banquet menu right now?" And she has a dairy allergy, and she said, I want people to stop giving me a bowl of berries with a piece of mint on it." Right? Because
Yeah.
it's just a joke.
Yeah.
I'm like,
It's
how do we combat that to make it hospitable and make you feel like you're valued?
Yeah, I mean, that's hospitality at its core. I mean, each and every guest is going to have an experience one way or the other. And I mean, it's even more so on large events and at scale. Like you, even an event at 80 people, that's 80 people that are going to have an experience one way or the other.
Mhm.
Um, and it's important that, all of them, every single one of them has the experience that they came for. And as a chef, hospitality falls so many different ways, but we speak through food. That's kind of how we do it. So to not put the intention and the design into making somebody still feel appreciated and thought of just because of an allergy, like, to me, I mean, that's the opposite of hospitality. That's, you know, it's a form of, really, I mean, laziness, or just not giving thought into every single thing. And yes, they might not be the VIP guest, they could be somebody's plus one that doesn't even know the bride and groom whatsoever, but they're still going to have an experience, and they still should be treated as such, and they should be able to have that experience. That's important to us, at least. I mean, to make sure that every guest like has that experience.
Well, and I'm thinking too, like they're going to ask, okay, who catered this? Can they cater my wedding or my event
Yeah.
next? I mean, it's a huge revenue opportunity.
And that's the one thing, people sometimes, I think a lot of people don't realize or really put into fact. Like, if I have a wedding for 200 people in real time, I now have 198 people that are going to see me in action and spread a word of mouth. Like,
Mhm.
that's 198 possible new clients that I
Mhm.
have in front of me at one time.
Mhm.
And that experience is going to speak leaps and bounds. And yeah,
Right.
you're right. Then it's who catered this event. I can't believe they've thought of this. I can't,
Mhm.
all of that work that goes into it. Like, it's, you know, we have an opportunity to continue. I mean, looking at it from that side. But again, the
Right.
experience is definitely the important aspect. But yeah, there's a potential to please a lot of people at once.
Mhm. Well, and I'm going to
And
make your number 200 because you still have that bride and groom that could come back to you.
yeah, well, I
Yeah.
mean, that's the goal. Build
Mhm.
build with the clients.
Yeah. Okay, I want to jump back to something at the very, very beginning, just to really kind of clarify what, like, off, because this is the title of the show is Off Premise Catering and Food Allergies. So describe that, because I know, like, and my friend Shelly Peterson, do you know Shelly? The
I
late,
do.
yeah, late Shelley Peterson, used to describe when trying to teach restaurateurs, to cater, right? It's definitely a different mentality, but what does it take? Because you don't have your own venue, you don't have your equipment in that venue, so you're going to an art museum or you're going out to the middle of a field, so it's tons of trucks, right, of different
It,
pieces, and
it's
how does
trucks.
play into
It's
this? Yeah.
tents. It's and all of it's different too. I mean, like you said, I mean, and a lot of times if we go to a museum, especially like an art museum or anything like that, it's automatic, no open flames, no, you know, so that changes everything too, because now I can't technically use sternos or, you know, propane burners or
Mhm.
anything like that. So like all of that changes. But I mean, for us, it's just a process that you go through. But I mean, it's all done through training and everything else. And once you live it, you,
Mhm.
just like anything that you do, you get better at it. But yeah, I mean, you're setting up tables, you're setting up, you're hooking up an oven to a 40-pound propane tank. You know, maybe you've brought a fryer along and you have to, hook up a fryer in the middle of a field. Like, you have to have a generator. You're under a tent. Now it's raining outside. Like, there's just so many things that go into, like, the logistics behind catering, I think, is what most people don't realize
Right.
when they think of catering. I mean, there's a lot of great things that come from catering and everything, but the physical planning and logistics and everything that goes behind it to make that event what it is uh, unless you really do it, most people don't have a full understanding of the detail that has to be there.
Right. Yeah. Because it's like, and do you need permits and, to pull that truck into that space or to close that
Yeah.
road down and things like that? Yeah.
Do we have plywood in the truck to maybe put under the tires because it's been raining all day and we've been parked in a field and now the ground is soft? Like,
Right.
there's so many little details that, you know, some of it you have to live and learn through experience too. So
Yeah. Well, Todd told me like they didn't put the lid on the sterno all the way and the truck blew up.
oh
Yeah. Right. Yeah. So those little things, right? Yeah. Those little
yeah.
things. Yeah.
Yeah, and there's times that we're working in the back of a box truck. Like,
Hmm.
that is our space. We don't have a tent. We don't have anything. We have a 28-foot box truck, and every it's got a couple tables on there and a hot box, and now
So
we have
you,
to execute for 100 people.
and you have everything mise en place is basically mise en place to the 10th degree to do all of that.
Yeah,
Yeah. So having that engineering, your menu engineering is really, really important to, and you kind of mentioned this when you were going through and like looking every single detail of those appetizers and things. And it's because you don't want to just order a substitute like, oh, here's your carrot, or right. Um, how do you where is the allergy friendly option is just as beautiful and intentional, right? And can you just make it allergen friendly in general? And I think we were talking about before the show, like, hey, can we just remove the nuts altogether, or remove, depending
Yeah.
on the shellfish, or, how do you menu engineer something so it looks just as beautiful? And you're not
So I mean,
Googling that, right?
yeah. So I mean, for us, we actually have created, I believe it's 5 dishes, between myself and Josh, like really spearheaded this up. But we created 5 dishes specifically just to accommodate allergies.
Okay.
So, you know, they don't have gluten, they don't have dairy, they don't have nuts. Um, 2 of them don't have allium at all, because
Oh,
allium is
well.
like the
Hmm.
newest. Allium seems to be our newest obstacle that I've seen more and more in
Hmm.
probably the last year and a half. Is allium allergies, intolerances, whatever it is. But I mean, that's
And for everybody
that
else, that
was
means garlic and onions and shallots and leeks and things
right.
like that. Yeah.
And I mean all the way down to the seasoning. So like, and
Right.
then we use garlic and onion seasoning as in our basic blends that we make here. So,
Hmm.
we have specific meals that we've created intentionally that, don't touch any of that. And that's just the inclusion of now certain oils and fresh herbs and everything else. One of our newest ones is a beet steak that we do. That we actually just served at an event last weekend, and it's, yeah, beautiful beet steak and peppercorn and rosemary purple potatoes with roasted carrots and a vegan chevre cream. And
Hmm.
there's just a lot of things that yeah, that all, it's an intentional dish that not only looks beautiful, it's pleasing, it tastes great, but yeah, it consists of nothing that we have concerns about. That if anybody has any type of allergy and we have that, then that experience won't get missed at all.
So you got rid of the cauliflower steak and now you've made a beet steak. And okay, beets are not as big as cauliflower, but that I love beets. So
Yeah,
that sounds
but it's
awesome.
yeah, it's usually like a trio of beets.
Okay.
They're just cut a little bit thicker. They're
Hmm.
they're roasted. They're, yeah,
Oh my God. Can I come up there and have that?
most definitely. And it's funny too, because with those meals, I mean, not only did we make them allergy friendly, they're also usually vegan and
Hmm.
vegetarian. So like
Hmm.
that covers that whole aspect as well. And
Right.
um, I was just having this conversation last weekend at an event, because some people just pick the vegetarian meal not because they are vegetarian, because they assume it's going to be pasta or something,
Right.
because that's what most people do. Like if you're a vegetarian, here's some pasta with some veggies and a sauce, and you're
Yeah.
good. And I mean,
Hmm.
some people they're like, yeah, that's what I want, because I don't want like the beef or anything. But
Hmm.
um, and then we come out with this dish, and it's just like, oh, this is what I was expecting at all. Um, Sometimes that works in our favor, and sometimes
Right.
people are like, oh, this is like, I don't eat beets at all, and it's just like, well, I mean, you selected the vegetarian allergy
Right. Yeah.
allergy dish. So
Hmm.
it's funny how that worked. But no, it's we have intentional menu development that just strictly focuses on allergy items that
That's awesome.
we can have. And then also just for execution purposes alone. I mean, again, not having full kitchens, and sometimes I don't even have the luxury of an oven. So our menu is designed to, be able to be heated certain ways, cooked certain ways, not as many touches and garnishes, and, for easier execution, but still packed with flavor.
That and yeah, and that's a whole nother logistics thing. I'm like you're limiting the amount of add-ons to it. You're like, and it has to be. You don't have an oven. What are you doing? How are you doing that? And your hot boxes and all of those things that have to be put into that box truck, right? To bring
Yeah.
it. Yeah. Um, so the one of the things that I like to going back to the staff is the kitchen culture, right? Um, it's the central to any culinary program, but any culinary company, catering company. But how do you build and sustain that culture? And I'm going to assume that a lot of your people have worked for you for a long time because it does
Yeah.
require that, right? But we do have a lot of when you're looking at hotels and convention centers, there's a lot, especially front of house and maybe back of house, lots of temporary staff, right, to fill in on deciding on that. But you know, to sustain a culture of food safety around dietary restrictions, and I'm going to jump back to some of the food safety training. Food allergies are only 4 pages of the book,
Yeah.
right? It's always focused on salmonella and all those other words that we can't say. But what did you do to build that culture? And I mean, was it Josh? I remember Josh saying, "Hey, I just wanted to do this," right? But how
Yeah.
do you sustain that?
So I mean, yeah, there's got to be a level of care that comes with it
Mhm.
as well. And I mean, you talk about kitchen culture in general. I mean, kitchen culture is, very important to everything, but it's really just making it a part of your day to day. I think that's the biggest thing. It's not that there's specific trainings or anything we go to. Yes, we have allergy protocols and SOPs, and like I said, this is what it looks like from the start to finish. So when you're on site, here's the procedures and processes you have to go through. Like all of that's a part of it, but constantly communicating and talking about it and making aware, like all the way down to our prep sheets. Even when we get our prep sheets ready, we have on our prep sheets labeled like where there's certain allergies or what's being prepared for allergy meals, so
Mhm.
that way whoever's prepping not only sees that this is for somebody's allergy, so they know the care that has to go into that and the importance of that, and it helps them prioritize too. It's just, yeah, making it a part of our life and culture. Like it's not something that we shy away from or, you know, want to ever like disregard, because food allergies, again, like I said, most seems like just about half of the guest count is going to have some type of allergy.
Mhm.
Allergies are a very common thing. It's more and more, we keep adding more to the overall list of allergies that there are. It's, you know, the more it happens, the more you have to be aware of it. And I think,
Mhm.
yeah, it's just important to us. It's we literally embed it into our day to day everywhere. It's something that we talk about every single day, whether it's just because it's on the prep list and we have to have that conversation about it. And it's a review with all the chefs in for the day. Like, here's your list. Here's, these allergy items. Make sure it's part of it. And then as long as the culture is good, the care is there. I
Right.
think that's the biggest part. People enjoy coming here. We enjoy being together, working together, and instantly the care becomes that much more important because it's something that we're doing together.
How many
It's
people
not
are
just
on
on.
Go ahead.
I was just saying, it's just not one person's responsibility by any
Right.
means.
How many people are on your kitchen team?
Well, I mean, overall, I oversee 37 total people.
Okay.
But like on our day to day kitchen, like that are in the kitchen prepping, and part of it, I think it is right now. I'm sitting at 16 individuals um, that are in the kitchen.
Wow. And how many things are you delivering today? How many events are you producing today?
Today was today Tuesday. We have 3 events today
And for the week?
for the week total, and we're getting into wedding season now. So I think this weekend alone. I mean, usually our weddings start on Thursdays.
Oh wow. Okay.
We have people that like to get married on Thursdays, so we have those up. So I think altogether it's 24 events.
And they're all at different
Including
locations.
all different locations, all different, yeah, all over central Pennsylvania. We usually do about an hour and a half radius around
Okay.
central Pennsylvania, to where we stretch. So, I mean, we definitely go further. Sometimes we're in Maryland, sometimes we're in New Jersey. But yeah, just all within an hour and a half radius, but all in different directions. And, sometimes it can be we can do 8 weddings on a Saturday.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's
So,
mind-boggling.
and that's usually most people's reaction. I mean, for us, I mean, it's a heavy day, but
Right.
it's something that I mean, for at least 4 to 5 months out of the year, it's wedding season for us. And May and June are prime Pennsylvania wedding months.
And you're not going up and down an elevator, you're going across the highway. Right. Yeah.
Going across the highway, then we're pushing things across a 20-acre field, and
Wow.
Yeah, you never know. Yeah, you're not.
Yeah,
Again, we're not always in a building. We're usually under
right,
it. A lot of people have outside weddings and under
right.
tents, and I have a little 20 by 20 space that we get to claim our own, and we have to share it between back of the house, front of the house, everybody. And then we
Wow.
back a couple trucks backed up to the tent. And
Mm-hmm. That
yeah,
makes me think of Roy Porter and how he describes how you set up a tent, right? For
yeah,
execution. Yeah. Roy Porter, if
yeah.
you're
The
listening to,
design's just as yeah, design is just as important of the layout of how you're going to operate.
right. Yeah.
And
That,
again, I think that goes back to our logistics comment of
mhm,
like the amount of detail that goes in because the flow has to work too. It has to
right.
make sense.
Yeah, totally. Because like, where's the access, like the tent that you're in, like where are your servers coming in and out of, and where do they get into your tent? And, and
Yeah,
I worked the Atlanta Food and I managed the tasting tents for Atlanta Food and Wine Festival in 2012 and 2013. And on 2013, one day, like torrential downpour, torrential just before we were opening. And we were pulling apart the bales of hay that we were using for decor and taking the boxes and ripping them up just so that people could walk. Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah,
It's
yeah. I remember doing a wedding. I think it was 2 years. It was a beautiful outside wedding. We were under a huge tent, and I mean, it poured the entire time from start to finish. There was no, and it was, and like I said, we were outside, and it was on a kind of like on a hill a little bit too.
mhm.
So, you know, we had our staff holding umbrellas to walk people from where the ceremony was to underneath the tent. Everybody instantly wants to get under the tent. People are falling, slipping, like it's yeah. There's just so many things, and then you know it goes back to the experience. Like
Mhm.
now now people are kind of frustrated, like it's
Mhm.
not ideal to how they pictured the day going, and you know now it takes that much more to kind of turn it around.
Right. I mean, I think you then to me, you got all these fantastic stories of, "Oh,
Yeah,
did you see Jay fall in the mud
yeah,
puddle?" and all that stuff, but still, yeah, but we have to be in our game, and you as my chef, me as the planner, like, we have to be in our game, and completely not food allergy related, but it is being on your game and having your SOPs in place. The When the shooting happened in Washington, DC at the, correspondence dinner, right?
yeah,
The Washington Hilton was able to donate all 2,000 of those plates of food because they had their SOPs in place, even under duress,
yeah,
right? And I think that is a testament to what you do, what they do, and understanding, getting the team and that culture together to say, "Hey, we believe in not reducing food waste. We need believe in not killing people from the food we serve," right? Yeah,
yeah. Systems and processes. It's
right.
really as long as you have systems and processes and they're executed correctly, like
Mhm.
we're we built this for a reason, and you know as long as that's followed,
Right,
success rate is usually pretty high.
right. Okay, buffets versus action stations. Totally going back to our conversation.
Yeah,
They're so popular right now, and it reminds me I have to call two people and order something for an event next week. But they can maybe pose some challenges for guests with food allergies. Because that action station, maybe somebody is allergic to airborne or whatever. How do you approach station design and service flow? And like, hey, what if you're doing sliders? And do you have some gluten-free buns as well versus, the
yep.
normal buns? How do you do that?
So yeah, definitely action stations are something that we do a lot of.
Okay.
A lot more than any type of. I mean, buffets are very like seldom for us. I mean, we do have them, but for the most part, if it's not plated, it's some type of action station.
Hmm.
So a couple things go into that, depending on what it is. Again, full review of the menu, so we know exactly what allergies we're looking for on that station, if there is something. Um, you know, Pasta stations are usually pretty, a popular thing, and there's shrimp and options like that sometimes, so you have to be aware of that. For us, signage is important, so we have a lot of signage usually, and within that signage, it does state that there are options available for allergy guests.
Hmm.
A lot of times, yeah, gluten-free pasta, gluten-free rolls, anything like that. But then on my end, it's you know, the chefs. The chefs have to be able to interact with the guests too.
Hmm.
and they have to be able to answer questions. So again, that knowledge is important, and that's why we go into the reviews at the events, because if you're going to be the chef on that action station, I need to make sure that you know exactly who you're looking for, or not necessarily who you're looking for, but when they do come up, you know how to answer the question
Hmm.
properly and not miss a beat. So and sometimes it is just as simple like, we do have something for you, we have to pull it from the side, usually a new pan, all that same protocol goes in. Like, there are specific pans that are dedicated to that station just for an allergy guest, or, so there's no cross contamination. All of those little factors go into it. But for us, signage is important, so that way everything's labeled and easily to read. And then for us, I mean, for me, the communication of the chef has to be able to interact with the guests, and again, create that experience. Like,
Hmm.
I want our chefs to be talking to the guests anyways, like, how's it going so far? Like, just all basic conversation, but to make them feel like, we're having a good time, they should be having a good time.
Right.
But then also opening that the guest now feels probably comfortable. Not everybody's comfortable admitting that they have a
Right.
certain allergy. So instead, they just don't say anything and they don't eat. And that's the last thing that we want. Like, I want you to enjoy yourself too. So, if I can make you feel a little more comfortable to say, hey, just so you know, like, I can't have dairy, not a problem. This is what we have already. We already have this for you, just so you can have that experience. So that's important. So I think the communication from the chef, especially on action stations, is huge.
Yeah.
But beyond that, the signage is important,
How do
and
you,
letting guests know.
right, exactly. And then, so like, okay, maybe there's a plated meal, right? It's a sit down wedding versus an hors d'oeuvre. But I'm like, you don't want me raising my hand. Hey, I'm the dairy free person, right? But do you have a way that you work with your planners to help those attendees identify themselves without raising my hand?
Yeah. So for the most part, like I said, usually they're on table assignments. So,
Okay.
especially like events like that with plated meals, it's assigned seating. It's
Okay.
very rarely is it. That's an event that doesn't have assigned seating, but it's a plated meal, becomes very chaotic very quickly.
Right.
Because now you can sit wherever you want. Now we do have to it's just a little more work to find those people, where a lot of times we have a seating chart with everybody's name. So I already know what allergy is where.
Hmm.
Um, and then we can identify you that way. So like, we will, when our server comes to the table to greet the table, ask about dietary restrictions. And it's just a simple, hey, I see, you know, Christine has, an almond allergy. I
Hmm.
just wanted to introduce myself, and then they'll introduce themselves. And now I know exactly where you are.
Okay. Yeah.
So that way, I don't need you to like raise your hand or anything like that. We're going to come find you, because we usually know where you are already.
right.
Just have to make the introduction.
It would also be awesome, especially with if like those intimate kinds of events, to have a photo of that person, right? I mean, we do it for VIPs in a lot of things.
Yeah.
Yeah. I went to my dentist this morning, and when I walked in the door, they're like, "Hey, Tracy." I'm like, "How did you even?" Like, she's like, "I saw you walking up the sidewalk," and I'm like, "Oh my gosh," right? And they do have the photos of me at the dentist office, which is kind of cool. Uh,
and 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 that made it's part of the experience, right?
right.
That's literally the definition of hospitality.
Right.
Like,
Yeah.
just that little interaction and the reaction that you had to them going that extra step
Right.
made not most people like going to the dentist to begin with. So if it could
Right.
be a little bit more of a pleasurable experience, like,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Yeah. And just really side tangent on that is that my dad recently passed away, and my dad was a patient of theirs. My mom and I both got handwritten cards like a week after my dad passed away to say sorry for your loss. And when the dentist came in today, he said the same thing. And I'm like, it just like that's the hospitality, right? I'm like, I'm going to recommend this dentist
Very much so.
all day long. Right.
Just from the simple, it took probably somebody 2 minutes to just say, hey, don't forget,
Right.
her father passed away or anything like that. Just that small gesture.
Yeah.
It's all it took. Hospitality is really not that difficult if you really think about it. It's just
No, it's not.
kindness and intention.
Ex-
It's really,
I like those
and
two words. Yeah. Mm.
the bar has been set so low nowadays.
Right.
It's unfortunate.
Right. Exactly. Okay, so you have served as the Culinary Council President of ICA, International Caterers Association.
Yep.
For your position as a leader, in that role, but also as this leading caterer in Pennsylvania, what conversations about food allergies do you think catering still needs to have? And I say that too, along with, I mean, there's now a law in California that requires the top 9 allergens to be labeled. The food code in Pennsylvania actually says the top 9 allergens should be coded on unpackaged food. I know there's no teeth behind that yet, but
Right.
there are more states that are implementing California's laws that saying caterers are going to have to do this. But from your position, where do we get people to be the level that you are?
It has to start with the intention. It really does. Like, I mean, we have to recognize that this is something that's just a part of our culture and part
Mm.
of our industry. Like, we're dealing with food, and food causes allergies and illnesses. Like, it it's very much a part of it. And the quicker we can understand and accept that and make it a part of our routine, the better. And I think I know personally the JDK group, we go through a lot more than a lot of other caterers and people do when it comes to allergies. And I'm hoping that if by continuing to do things like this and talk about it, that it'll help unlock and spread the word across the board, because you know it just has to become part of the process. But I think that's the one thing that definitely is, food allergies are still pretty much looked at as a, I don't want to say necessarily negative thing, but more of just
A burden?
inconvenience
Hmm.
for sure.
Hmm.
And it's, oh, I used to use vegetarian, not even an allergy, but as an example, like, as a vegetarian. So what, I'm just going to take the chicken off the plate and here's the mashed potatoes and green beans that you will eat. Like, that's, the intention is not there. And I think that's the biggest thing that's missing. I mean, as a leader, just in general, I mean, it's part of how you approach it and how you build the culture and everything else. And you know, it has to be a part of the day to day. And for me as a chef and everything, like I said, food allergies are nothing new, and they keep expanding, and we have to keep understanding it. But it's a part of our industry. There's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. Like,
Yeah.
and to want people to shy away from that, I don't it's just something I personally just don't agree with.
Yeah. Well, and the mentality of like, well, we're just know we're not a nut-free place, or we're not this. I'm like, I get that, but that doesn't
Yeah,
skirt your duty of care, one, or your business opportunity. Yeah.
yeah, it's big. But I
Yeah.
mean, it's, again, especially as caterers, I think restaurants, this is where, I say how things are so different, because it's on the menu, you can have it labeled, it's very, not a lot of times we have menus or anything out. Like,
Right.
people just, they're going to get a plate of food, they know that much, but they're just going to, they're trusting that we've considered everything into
Right.
that. Like,
Right.
so I think it varies there too.
Yeah. Okay, so how can planners help you when they hire you? Because typically this is very transactional. Like, hey, I'm gonna hire JDK Group to cater my event. And especially also when you're looking at a hotel, like, hey, here's your printed menu, here's what you got. What do you want? How can planners help you? And what do you want planners to understand about the kitchen aspect of this and execution that they can help you make it easier?
Yeah, like, I mean, I don't expect any planner to understand like our process or systems or anything. Like, they're bringing us in, to do a service and a transaction, and they're going to trust that we have all of that taken care of. I think from that, sometimes just the communication aspect, of being aligned, being on the same page, giving us the proper updates,
Hmm.
having the conversation, like involving us in some of the conversations with the client when it comes to the menu and the food and everything. um, I think that's usually the biggest thing. That I've worked with some amazing planners and that are great at all of that, and I've worked with some that are so hands off. They're just, they want to make sure all the pieces are there, but then they're trusting everybody else, and that usually causes a disconnect that
Hmm.
uh, it's easily fixed. And again, I don't need anybody to understand the ins and outs of how we're going to make it happen. We'll take care of that. That's what we do. But being aligned is very important.
Right. Yeah.
Sometimes there's a lack of alignment there.
Yeah. I think We can't work on silos, right? It all
Yeah,
is one fluid thing to make this event spectacular, and we can't
we're all there for
do
one
our,
goal.
yeah, exactly. The same one.
We might all come from different vendors, and we might have our own businesses, and you know, the DJs there, and the caterers here, and the photographers there, but at, we all have one goal for this event, and we want the best experience for the bride and groom and their guests
Hmm.
through what we're responsible for.
Right.
But we all play a part into that. I mean, you nailed it with the silo thing.
Yeah. Because the band like could get up there and they're like, they don't know they're in the middle, you're in the middle of service. And yeah,
Yeah,
it all plays into this beautiful event
yeah, and that's
experience that we have.
and the planner is usually the one that is the liaison between everybody.
Hmm.
So like that's where the importance to me of like the communication is, because does the band know my timeline for service, or
Hmm.
do I understand the band's timeline for when they have to play? Because a lot of time during dinner service is when they're playing.
Hmm.
So, and of course, we feed all of our vendors and everything too. So that's important too. Like, is the band going to eat later? They need to eat before. Like, all of that kind of plays
And do
into
they
it as
have any
well.
dietary needs themselves?
But that's we get all of that too. All of
Yeah.
our vendors, same questions. Do you have any dietary needs?
Oh, I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Uh,
Okay, a couple rapid fire questions. You ready?
yes.
Buffet
Yep.
or plated, and why?
Plated. Uh, Plated. I'm in control. That's
Okay.
the easiest part. Presentation is always nicer. I get to present it however I want to present it. But I'm in control. So, and it's again, I'm not against buffets, but if they're not done right, nobody wants to be in line for 15 minutes waiting to
Right.
just go through to make a plate. Like, sit down, enjoy yourself, sip your wine or water or whatever that you're enjoying. Your plate will be out in a minute. But yeah, I like plated because I have full control at that point.
Okay. I like that. One ingredient every event menu needs right now.
Right now, every event menu needs not beef. I would say um, just something local. I mean, for us, I mean, we do a lot with mushrooms just because Pennsylvania is, produces pretty much majority of the mushrooms in the entire United
Oh, wow.
States. So
Okay.
for me, it's just, yeah, what's local and fresh around you is what your menu needs. Like that's where that's where the sustainability comes
Hmm.
from. And as caterers, that's not always easy because we deal in high volumes. So
Right.
not most people can't usually source the amount of volume that we need, but being intentional with how you plan certain things and everything, yeah, just something local and fresh to me is what every menu needs.
And we're going to discuss the beef thing on another episode.
Yeah,
Yeah.
most
Yeah.
definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Best meal you've ever eaten at someone else's event.
At somebody else's event. Um, I so I think this is a couple years ago, at a Cater Source event, actually no, it was an Art of Catering food event.
Hmm.
We do like a lot of lunch and learns and everything, and Chef Boris and Chef Keon's out of DC, Chef Boris is out of Florida. They
Florida.
came
Hmm.
together. Yeah, they came together and did like a collaboration meal that really touched on like soul food and Southern, and that kind of speaks my language. Any type of Southern profile, Cajun, Creole type of
Hmm.
profile, like really speaks to me. And those two dudes are so talented. And that meal was just, I remember we all sat together and it was a phenomenal meal. So I would give those two a shout out.
Awesome. Boris was actually on my show the same year that Josh was at that same cater
Oh,
source.
nice.
Yeah. So I need to go pull that.
Yeah.
I'll pull that episode up and give everybody the link to that. He's fun. I liked him a lot.
Yeah, Boris is a good guy.
I think I just grabbed him off the show floor too. I'm like, hey, do you want to be on my podcast?
Yeah.
Okay.
He makes the best hot sauce.
Does he really?
Yeah. Georgia Mays hot sauce. He makes this roasted garlic hot sauce that I will put on it.
Really? Wow.
Yeah.
Okay. Good to know. All right. Final question. Finish the sentence. Every meal should
Make you happy.
I like that.
Every meal should just make you happy.
Yeah.
And I know there's a lot of, I mean, we go through life, things are rushed and everything, but sometimes just sit back and enjoy what's in front of you.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah, for sure.
I appreciate you being on the show with me. And
I'm so glad that we finally got together and did this. And yeah, thank you so much for having me today.
you're welcome. And I think I will see you in 2 months. Yep. At Ascend conference, which is,
I'll be there.
yep.
Yes.
Yes. Okay. And everybody, this is Food Allergy Awareness Week. This is Jay Varga. Actually, tell them how to get a hold of you, how to hire you.
Well, I mean, you easily just go to our website, www.thejdkgroup.com. All inquiries can be through there. Always, you can just reach out to me through email too. I can connect you to whoever we have to, which my email is just jvarga, no AY, just the letter J, Varga at thejdkgroup.com. You can check me out on Instagram at Chef Varga22. So different ways to get out at me, but yeah.
Okay. Awesome. I'm glad you said the J without the AY in your email, because that
Yeah.
would be confusing. Yes.
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you so much for what you do and for feeding people. Anybody in Pennsylvania, please go hire them because they sound fantastic. And I'm going to come up and eat your beet steak at some point. It is Food Allergy Awareness Week. 2 more episodes this week. Our friend Chef Connor O'Connor from Canada is going to be on Thursday. And
Danielle, I love Chef Karen.
Yep, Karen, I saw her at Cater Source talking about allergies.
Yep.
So I'm excited to talk to her. So everybody, until then, stay safe and eat well. And Jay, thank you again for being here and doing what you do.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.